The umbral threat commander Vexthara extended her sensory tendrils through the darkness of her command vessel, feeling the familiar comfort of absolute shadow that had cradled her species for millions of years. The umbral collective had evolved on a rogue planet cast out from its star system eons ago, where darkness was not just natural but essential for survival. Her people were living shadows, beings of pure darkness who could manipulate light itself, bending it to their will or extinguishing it entirely. The bridge of her flagship, the Void Whisper, existed in perfect blackness. No instruments glowed. No screens flickered. The umbral operated through echolocation, electromagnetic sensitivity, and psychic resonance. Light was not just unnecessary for them, it was painful, even deadly in large concentrations. Their entire military doctrine was built around this fundamental truth. Every species they had encountered feared the dark, and the umbral could weaponize that fear. "Report on the new target system," Vexthara commanded, her voice a whisper that carried perfectly through the darkness to her crew.sub-commander. Zixara's response came from somewhere to her left, though pinpointing exact locations was meaningless. In their lightless environment, the third planet shows signs of advanced civilization. They call themselves humans. Our reconnaissance probes confirm they are a light-dependent species, similar to the Zelthrani and the Corvex systems we conquered last cycle. Vexthara felt a ripple of satisfaction through her consciousness. The Zelthrani had surrendered within hours, once their sun was dimmed. The Corvex had lasted 3 days before their entire fleet was destroyed by shadow-cloaked umbral ships they never saw coming. Fear of darkness was universal among evolved species. It was a primal terror that even advanced civilizations couldn't overcome. "Initiate standard conquest protocol," Vexthara ordered. "Deploy shadow generators at the outer system edge. We'll give them a taste of true darkness before demanding their surrender." The umbral fleet moved like liquid night through space, their ships absorbing all electromagnetic radiation, invisible to conventional sensors. 50 vessels of various sizes approached Earth's solar system, each one equipped with the latest shadow generation technology. These devices could create zones of absolute darkness by manipulating quantum fields, essentially creating pockets of space where photons simply ceased to exist. On Earth, General Sarah Chun stood in the Pentagon Situation Room, studying the reports that made no sense. Satellites were going dark, one by one at the edge of the solar system, but not from equipment failure. They were simply being engulfed by expanding spheres of absolute nothingness. "Dr. Webb, explain to me how this is possible," General Chun said, turning to the xenobiologist who had become her primary advisor since the first signs of alien. A CTIVITY Dr. Marcus Webb pushed his glasses up his nose, a nervous habit he'd developed since graduating from MIT 15 years ago. "General, based on the readings we're getting, these aren't natural phenomena. Something is actively manipulating the quantum field to create zones where light cannot exist. It's like they're turning off portions of space itself." "Who's they?" Sean asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "First Contact, General. And whoever they are, they're using darkness as a weapon." The shadow generators reached full capacity within 6 hours. Earth's sun appeared to dim, as if someone was slowly turning down a massive dimmer switch. The effect was gradual, at first a slight reduction in daylight that most people attributed to unusual weather patterns. But as hours passed, the dimming became undeniable dot across the globe. Emergency services were flooded with calls. Traffic accidents multiplied as streetlights struggled against the increasing darkness. Power grids strained to compensate for the loss of solar energy. Psychological helplines reported a surge in calls from people experiencing sudden, inexplicable terror, but it was then that the message came. Every electronic device on Earth simultaneously displayed the same image: a figure of pure shadow standing against a background of absolute darkness. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from the darkness itself, bypassing normal audio systems and speaking directly into the minds of everyone who witnessed it. People of Earth, I am Commander Vex Thara of the Umbral Collective. Your star has been dimmed by our technology. Within 72 hours, your world will be plunged into complete and permanent darkness unless you accept our terms. You will surrender your weapons, dismantle your military, and submit to Umbral rule. Resistance will result in the immediate and total extinction of your sun's light. You have seen what we can do. Do not test our resolve. The transmission ended, leaving Earth in a state of barely controlled panic. World leaders convened emergency sessions. Military commanders activated defense protocols that seemed laughably inadequate against an enemy who could turn off the sun. Most terrifying of all, the psychological impact was immediate and severe. Humans, like most evolved species, possessed an instinctual fear of darkness that went back to their earliest ancestors cowering from nighttime. Predators. General Chun found herself in command of Earth's response, coordinating with military leaders worldwide. The situation seemed hopeless. How do you fight an enemy you can't see, using weapons that require light to function effectively? General, Dr. Webb approached with a tablet displaying brain scan data. I've been analyzing the psychological reports. Something interesting is happening. Define interesting, Doctor. Because right now, I need solutions, not academic curiosities. Webb pulled up a series of graphs showing neurological activity patterns. The initial fear response was exactly what you'd expect. Massive spikes in stress hormones, panic reactions, the whole fight or flight response. But look at what's happening. Now, 12 hours later, Chun studied the data. After the initial panic spike, the readings showed something unexpected. Human brain activity was adapting, reorganizing itself. What am I looking at? Neuroplasticity in real time, Webb explained. His excitement barely contained. The human brain is rewiring itself to function more efficiently in low-light conditions. Visual cortex activity is decreasing while other sensory regions are hyperactivating. We're literally evolving to function in darkness, and it's happening. In hours instead of generations. That's fascinating, Doctor, but evolution won't help us fight invisible aliens. Actually, General, it might. I've been researching our military's training protocols. Did you know that Special Forces units routinely train in complete darkness? That our submarine crews operate in environments with no natural light for months? That humans are one of the few species that actively engage in recreational activities in darkness? Chun paused, considering this. You're saying we're already adapted to fight in the dark? I'm saying we're more adapted than we realize. Every human has experienced navigating in darkness. Every child has played hide and seek in shadows. Every adult has walked through their home with lights off. We take it for granted, but that's actually remarkable. Most species become completely helpless without light. An idea began forming in Chun's mind. Dr. Webb, I need you to gather every expert we have on sensory adaptation, night vision technology, and unconventional warfare. And get me Captain Morrison from the Shadow Division. Captain Jake Morrison arrived within the hour. He was a lean man with sharp eyes, who seemed comfortable in the dimming light that was making others nervous. He commanded Earth's most secretive military unit, specialists in operations that officially didn't exist. Captain, I need to know about your team's capabilities in zero-light environments, Chun said without preamble. Morrison's expression didn't change. General, my people train in complete sensory deprivation. We can navigate, fight, and complete mission objectives in absolute darkness, using only sound, touch, and spatial awareness. It's what we do. How many personnel can you field? Immediately? 200 operationally ready. Within 24 hours, I can have 800 if we activate reserves and fast-track candidates from other Special Forces units. Dr. Webb leaned forward. Captain, have you noticed any changes in your sensory perception since the dimming began? Morrison nodded slowly. My hearing's sharper. I can sense air currents I never noticed before. It's like my brain is automatically compensating for the reduced light. Because it is, Webb explained. Humans are remarkably adaptable. We're already starting to function better in low-light conditions. But here's what I think our alien visitors don't understand about us. Chun raised an eyebrow. Which is? They're using our supposed weakness against us, but they've made a fundamental error. Darkness isn't humanity's weakness. It's where we learn to hunt. For millions of years, human ancestors were persistence hunters. We didn't overpower prey with strength or speed. We tracked them relentlessly over vast distances, often at night, until they collapsed from exhaustion. We are persistence predators, and darkness is our natural hunting ground. The lights in the Situation Room flickered as Earth's sun continued to dim. But instead of fear, Chun felt something else stirring anticipation. Gentlemen, she said, standing and walking to the window where shadows were growing longer despite it being midday. I think it's time we showed our visitors what humans do in the dark. Outside, the world was transforming. As natural light continued to fade, cities across the globe began implementing emergency lighting protocols. But something unexpected was happening. Instead of cowering in their illuminated sanctuaries, humans were beginning to venture into the shadows. Children who should have been terrified were playing games in the dim light. Adults were discovering they could navigate far better in the darkness than they'd believed possible. The Umbral Collective had made a critical miscalculation. They had assumed that fear of darkness was a permanent weakness. They hadn't considered that humans might adapt, might even thrive in the very environment their enemies thought would break them dot as the first day of dimming came to an end. General Chun issued classified orders to military units worldwide. The message was simple: embrace the darkness, learn to use it, and prepare for a kind of warfare the enemy had never encountered. The real battle was about to begin. Asterisk predators in the dark. 38 hours into the dimming, Commander Vexthara felt the first tremor of unease ripple through her consciousness. The humans should have surrendered by now. Every other species had capitulated within the first day of solar dimming, their civilizations crippling themselves as they burned through energy reserves, trying to maintain artificial light sources. Sub-Commander Zix-Ara, report on human surrender. Status: Vexthara commanded from her position at the center of the Void Whispers command nexus. The response carried undertones of confusion that disturbed Vexthara more than she cared to admit. Commander, the humans have not attempted to contact us. More concerning, our reconnaissance probes are detecting unusual activity patterns across their planet. Explain. They're systematically reducing artificial lighting. Major population. Centers are going dark voluntarily. Military installations have ceased all external illumination. It's as if they're embracing the darkness we've given them. Vexthara extended her sensory tendrils, reading the electromagnetic patterns of her subordinate's emotional state. Fear, confusion. These were not emotions the Umbral typically experienced when facing a supposedly inferior species. Impossible, Vexthara whispered. No species willingly enters the dark. Run full spectral analysis of human activity patterns. The results were disturbing. Human military units were moving with impossible coordination through environments with less than 1% normal illumination. Ships were launching from Earth without any external lighting, navigating by methods Umbral sensors couldn't detect. Most unsettling, human communications had shifted to frequencies and encryption methods that suggested they were specifically trying to avoid detection. On Earth, General Chun stood in the Pentagon's new command center, a facility that had been completely redesigned in the past 48 hours. All lighting had been removed except for minimal red illumination that preserved night vision. The room buzzed with activity as personnel moved confidently through the shadows, their enhanced hearing and spatial awareness allowing them to coordinate complex operations without visual reference. "Report from Captain Morrison," announced Lieutenant Maria Santos, her voice carrying clearly through the darkness. Morrison's team had been deployed to test human capabilities against umbral reconnaissance probes. The results exceeded all expectations. "General, we've successfully neutralized 7 enemy scout vessels. They never detected our approach. Their sensors appear to be optimized for detecting light-based emissions, but our stealth profiles in complete darkness are essentially invisible to them." Dr. Webb approached Chan's position, moving with the fluid confidence that humans worldwide were developing as they adapted to their new environment. "General, the neurological adaptation continues to accelerate. Human sensory processing has improved by an average of 300% in the past 2 days. We're not just adapting to darkness, we're becoming apex predators in it. Explain our tactical advantages, Doctor." Webb activated a holographic display that projected sound waves rather than light, creating a 3-dimensional audio map that had become the new standard for military briefings. "First, humans excel at persistence hunting. We're designed to track targets over extended periods without losing focus. Second, our pattern recognition abilities allow us to navigate complex environments using minimal sensory input. Third, and most importantly, we're one of the few species that engages in recreational activity in darkness. We're literally the only known species that plays in shadows." How does that translate to military advantage? Every human child has experienced hiding in darkness, moving silently, and tracking others without being detected. These aren't just survival skills, they're entertainment for us. We've been training for this kind of warfare our entire lives without realizing it. Captain Morrison's voice cut through the darkness. "General, we've identified the primary umbral fleet position. 50 vessels in a standard conquest formation, positioned at the edge of our solar system. They're maintaining complete electromagnetic silence, but we've developed a tracking method they won't expect, which is human intuition, General. My spotters can sense the gravitational distortions caused by their ships. It's not something our instruments can measure reliably, but human spatial awareness can detect the subtle changes in local gravity fields. We know exactly where they are." Chun felt a predatory smile cross her face. "Captain, initiate the Shadow Protocol." The Shadow Protocol was humanity's response to the umbral threat, developed in just 48 hours by combining military doctrine with humanity's natural advantages in low-light environments. Instead of fighting the darkness, human forces would use it as the ultimate camouflage. Across Earth, the protocol activated simultaneously. Military installations went completely dark. Naval vessels ceased all external lighting and began moving in formations that would be impossible to coordinate without advanced night vision technology. Air forces launched stealth aircraft that operated using sound navigation and human spatial awareness rather than conventional radar. Most crucially, Earth's Space Defense Fleet launched under complete blackout conditions. These weren't the massive, brightly lit vessels that most species used for space warfare. They were sleek, dark ships designed to absorb electromagnetic radiation and move through space like predators stalking prey. "Commander, Vexthara detected the human fleet's approach through gravitational sensors, but the readings made no sense. The human ships appeared to be moving in patterns that defied conventional tactical doctrine. Instead of standard military formations, they moved like a hunting pack, surrounding their prey from multiple directions simultaneously." "Sub-Commander, analysis of human fleet movements," Vexthara demanded, her voice carrying harmonics of stress that her crew had never heard before. "Commander, they're not following any recognizable tactical doctrine. The patterns most closely resemble ... predatory behavior, pack hunting strategies." For the first time in her military career, Vextara felt something she had never experienced: the fear of being hunted. The human fleet approached the umbral formation in complete silence. No radio communications, no electromagnetic emissions, no energy signatures that conventional sensors could detect. They moved through space like ghosts, coordinating through methods that seemed impossible to outside observers. Captain Morrison commanded the lead human vessel, the Night Hunter, a ship that had been retrofitted with humanity's most advanced stealth technology. His crew operated in complete darkness, using enhanced hearing, spatial awareness, and instinctive coordination to manage complex combat operations. "All units, this is Night Hunter Actual," Morrison whispered into his communications array, knowing that his message would be transmitted through quantum encrypted channels that the umbral couldn't intercept. "We are in position. Remember, we are not trying to overpower the enemy. We are stalking them. We are patient. We are persistent. We are what they fear in the dark." The first phase of the human attack wasn't an attack at all. It was psychological warfare of the highest order. Human vessels began appearing and disappearing on umbral sensors, never long enough to target, but frequently enough to create a sense of being surrounded by an invisible, predatory intelligence. Vextara felt her crew's growing panic as their sensors detected fleeting contacts that vanished the moment they tried to focus on them. "Target acquisition systems are malfunctioning," reported Tactical Advisor Morthic. "We're detecting human vessels, but every time we attempt to lock weapons, they simply ... disappear." "They're not disappearing," Vextara realized with growing horror. "They're hunting us." The human attack began with surgical precision. Instead of the massive energy exchanges typical of space warfare, human vessels used kinetic weapons, projectiles that moved through darkness at impossible speeds, guided by human intuition and spatial awareness rather than electronic targeting systems. The first umbral vessel died without ever seeing its attacker. A precisely aimed projectile struck its primary reactor, causing a cascade failure that destroyed the ship in seconds, then another, then 3 more in rapid succession. "All vessels, emergency combat protocols," Vextara commanded, but her fleet was already dying around her. Human ships appeared from impossible angles, struck with devastating accuracy, and vanished back into the darkness before return fire could be targeted. Morrison's voice echoed through the human fleet's communication channels. "This is what we do, people. This is what humans have always done. We are patient. We are persistent. We track our prey until it has nowhere to run. Show them what apex predators look like." The battle, if it could be called that, lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 47 umbral vessels had been destroyed or disabled. The remaining 3, including Vextara's flagship, were surrounded by human ships they couldn't see, couldn't target, and couldn't escape. "Commander Vextara," came a transmission on frequencies the umbral had thought were secure. General Chun's voice was calm, professional, and absolutely terrifying in its confidence. "This is General Sarah Chun of Earth Defense Command. Your fleet has been neutralized. Your shadow generators have been destroyed. Your sun-dimming technology has been disabled. You have one choice: surrender." Vextara felt the weight of absolute defeat. Her species had conquered dozens of systems, using darkness as a weapon, but they had never encountered a species that was more comfortable in darkness than they were. "How?" she whispered, her voice barely carrying through her ship's communication systems. Chun's response carried a hint of amusement. "Commander, you made a fundamental error in your intelligence assessment. You assumed that fear of darkness was a permanent weakness. You didn't consider that humans might be the thing that other species fear in the dark. We didn't evolve to fear the night, we evolved to own it. The surrender negotiations were brief. The Umbral Collective agreed to restore full solar output to Earth's system and withdraw from human space. In exchange, humanity offered something unexpected: cooperation rather than destruction. Your species excels in darkness, Dr. Webb explained during the peace talks, conducted in a specially designed chamber that provided the absolute darkness the Umbral required while allowing humans to operate comfortably. Our species excels in darkness. Perhaps instead of making enemies, we should consider the advantages of cooperation. 6 months later, the first joint human-Umbral exploration vessel, the Shadow Walker, launched on a mission to explore the deepest regions of space, where conventional light-based species couldn't operate. Crewed by both species, it represented something new in galactic politics, an alliance based on shared mastery of environments that others feared. Commander Vex Thara, now serving as Joint Tactical Advisor, found herself working alongside Captain Morrison to develop new exploration protocols. Their ships moved through space like predators stalking prey, but now they hunted knowledge instead of conquest. Your species continues to surprise us, Vex Thara admitted during one of their planning sessions. We expected fear, but found predators. We offered darkness as a weapon, but you made it a gift. Morrison smiled in the darkness at both species, now shared comfortably. Commander, humans have a saying, "We are not afraid of the dark. We are what others should fear in the dark." But we've learned something else from this experience, which is, sometimes the best predators hunt together. Earth's sun blazed at full strength once again, but humanity had been forever changed by its brief dimming. They had discovered something about themselves that even they hadn't fully understood. They were not a species that feared darkness. They were a species that mastered it, made it their ally, and emerged from it stronger than ever. The galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk.